thing going? Okay. Hey guys, so this is Zaine here, or also known as Bike Guy. So about, I don't know, I'll say maybe like 2 months ago, I got a frame in the mail from a guy in Germany, Christian Oth, who is also, he's the designer of the Druckbär Ultralight racing frames, and at the time I was looking for an alternate frame because I fly 4-inch quads as well, mainly for racing. They can freestyle, but they're really meant for racing and everything. But so I was looking for an alternate frame because originally I was using this little guy for the majority of my racing. This is a Vosser Sinew 4. It's a 4-inch frame. This is designed locally up in Portland, Oregon. I live in Eugene, and originally this is the frame I was using a lot. And I like this frame a lot, but the problem with it is it's a single plate bottom design, and the problem is you basically have to have a couple backup quads, meaning if you break one arm on this guy, you're pretty much out an entire quad. So this is basically my little review of this guy. So this is the Ultralight 3 frame. This is the newest, well, this isn't the newest one, but this is the one that, this is basically the version 1 of the UL3. So what this frame does that I really liked about it is, and I have his original frame too, is these arms are removable, and the cool thing is you take out this screw right here, and then you loosen this screw up right here. Don't mind the Phillips. That's for later. I'll explain why that's like that. Is you pull this one out, you loosen this one up, and then this whole arm completely slides out if you snap an arm off. And then you just put a new arm back in. You put this bolt back in, tighten this one down, and you're set. So that's the Ultralight 3. The other thing that really attracted me was the fact that the camera is somewhat protected. Now, unlike my Sinew frame, the camera's kind of far out there, and I have smashed a couple lenses a couple times. And the other thing too is it's not very well protected, so if you happen to land upside down pretty hard, I mean, you can see right there, like, that's gonna get the camera if I've got too much of high up tilt on the thing. I don't remember what the angle is right there because I was flying out of a garage last night. But with this guy, the camera plate, it actually does some protection for the most part. You can already see I already broke one of them. But this is the version 1 frame. I know the version 2 of the Ultralight 3, it's a little bit more beefed up than this one was. So I guess you could say this is an early prototype version. You're probably wondering, why is that motor flipping around? Well, I was going for the weight aspect of it, because if you get the race version of it, it's like, I think 39 grams or something like that, roughly, for the 4-inch one. I don't remember what the 5-inch is, but the 4-inch one, it's 39 grams. But I got the normal version, which means it's got the thinner arms, like the very, very thin arms, and for a total weight of 29 grams, that's what kind of attracted me to this frame. And plus, Christian had said that when I got his original frame, the Ultralight 2, which is hanging up on my wall inside my place, he said when I got that, he said he was actually working on this frame, which is the one you're seeing right here. So the only thing I would suggest is, if you're going to be racing, I would probably recommend just go for the Ultralight 3 Race Edition, because the arms are a little bit more beefier. They're a little bit more they're not thicker for thickness, because these are 4mm arms. The race ones are 4mm arms too, but it's wider. The arms are a little bit more wider, so that'll help with having stuff come off of it. Because I already broke 2 arms, and this is the second one that broke, and you can see, like, the rest of the arm's fine. It's just right on the very edge. That's the only thing that broke, and that's what basically happened. But since you can take the arms on and off really easily, that was pretty much a breeze. The only other thing I can really think of is, I do like that Christian was giving these little TPU mounts. So if you're running a micro camera, in my case, I'm running a Runcam Swift Micro 2. I know they're going to be coming out with the Micro 3 soon, but that's got the bigger lens on it and everything. But I don't know if I want to go with that route yet. And normally I actually prefer the black cameras, like what's on here with the screen Sinew. I just think the black cameras look a lot better compared to orange. I mean, the orange is alright, but I would consider that if I had orange standoffs, because, I mean, usually I try to keep my quads usually somewhat, like, I don't know, I don't really know how to explain it. I just like the look of a black camera over an orange camera. But anyway, the only suggestion I would give to Christian at Druckbär would be screws. Is these screws right here, these silver ones, these are not the stock screws that come with the run cams, with the run cam Swifts. These screws are actually spare sets of screws that I got from a camera kit off of my Impulse RC Alien. And if you're aware of those, I forget what it is. It's like, I think it's a 1.5 mil by something. I don't remember what the length is on it. But the problem is, if you get this frame, your screws that come with the run cam are not going to be long enough to reach in. And then the other thing too is I could probably get some shorter ones, but I don't know if they make them custom or not. But I had to put 2 little plastic spacers from the run cam kit that usually goes onto the little mounting bracket. I had to put those on there because if you just have, and the thing is, you have to use one, at least one, for this to work. If you use none, your camera's going to be flopping back and forth. If you use two in my case, it will torque down all the way, because I tried using just one washer on each side, and it will fit, but you have to basically squeeze the camera plate in on the bottom, and then when you put the top plate in, you kind of have to snap one side in and then push the other side in to snap the other one in place, and then that usually, it can get it in all the way. So where am I going with this? So essentially, what I'm trying to just communicate is if Druckbär can supply a long enough screw to make this whole system work, I think that's good. Because I feel that should be included with the kit when you first get it. Otherwise, then you have to go out of your way to go ahead and get your own screws. So the other thing I was actually going to suggest to Christian was to add. Because normally with this frame, anyways, I was a little skeptical about it at first when I first saw it. Was the fact that there's no sandwich plate on it, on the bottom of it. And what I mean by that is, I mean, I don't know if you can really see this or not, but the arms, they kind of just come in and they're just kind of stuck on the bottom, so there's nothing really supporting it. So originally, this is what I was doing, and I haven't had a single issue with it since. My buddy Matt, who lives over in Oak Ridge, he had a bunch of these spare 30x30 flight controller mounts, and oddly enough, this frame has 30x30. Yes, I know it is a 20x20 spaced frame, and I'll get to that in a minute too. But I just wanted something on the bottom to help to basically stiffen the arms up a little bit more. Now, I know the race version of it, the version 2 of it, Christian did do a couple little changes to it, where on the normal one, it has the sandwich plate design, which actually comes from here out to this bolt as well, so it's kind of like, it's almost like the bottom plate on the Ultralight right now, but it's a thinner one, and then it's got countersunk holes, so it's nice and flat, and I do like that, because now if you wanted to, you could put a battery flushly on the bottom of it, because before, the battery, it wouldn't really sit level, it would kind of sit janked off to the side, and it was kind of just like, well, this is really awkward. You have to almost pretty much put it on a stand for it to even work. But this is what I was originally doing, and then I know Christian had his, he had his test pilot, I think, over in Spain, who is pretty much just beating the crap out of him. I think he suggested to Christian that, hey, you should put this on here, and that should help fix everything up a little bit. So with the version 2 of the Ultralight 3, that's what Christian did. Now with the race one, I know it does not have this bottom plate on here, or his new bottom plate, because the whole point with that one is you can take the one bolt completely out, you loosen the other one up, and then I think you pull the arm out, and then there's a slot in the arm where the bolt head will fit through it, so you just pull it out and you pull straight up onto it, and then that's how you get the arms in and out really quickly. So if you do snap one at a race, that's how you can get by that. And if you're wondering what gear I'm running on this guy, I am using and I got these ones from Ready to Fly Quads. The only thing that I would suggest is if you don't have how do I put this? I'll just say this right. I don't talk much on to a camera. I'll just say that outright. I don't normally do that that often. I had to do it for a class one time, and yeah. Anyway, so components that are in this build right here, and it's pretty much the same for that one. Well, there's one thing that's different with that one, but this is more the focus right now. So what I've got in here is for the flight controller, and this is all 20 by 20 because this frame is meant to take a 20 by 20. The flight controller is a Flip 32 Omnibus, I think F4 version 2.5 or something like that. The cool thing with that flight controller is it has a black box chip enabled not enabled, it's installed on the board itself. So normally if you are into black boxing, you have to put an SD card or something like that into the flight controller, and there's usually a slot. Well, the problem with a 20 by 20 is it's way too small. You can't do that. So what the guys, I'm guessing Airbot I think Airbot makes these boards. They basically put a black box chip into the thing, and that's what they did. Now for ESCs, now here's the sticker on that. Not all 20 by 20 4-in-1 ESCs will work. You have to use a 4-in-1 obviously for this build. Originally I was going to be using a KISS all-in-one compact flight controller, but the problem is you'd have to get completely different standoffs. You'd have to get a split standoff to fit the board on there because it's 30 by 30. And the other reason I wanted to go with a 4-in-1 ESC instead was because now I can put the wires on the side. The problem with the KISS flight controller, the all-in-one, was I would have to mount it either straight forward or have to rotate the thing, and if I rotated it, I don't know what you'd have to do in the KISS firmware to change it. Besides telling the flight controller, hey, you're rotated 90 degrees, I don't know what you'd have to do there. Unless you flash it on Betaflight, you can do it that way. So the ESC, yeah, I'm rambling a little bit. The ESC that's in there is I think Airbot makes it. It's an Ori 25 amp 4-in-1 non 32-bit. Now, why I say non 32-bit is because this is running BLHeli-S. Now, going back to this one, this is actually running the Ori 25 amp 32-bit ESC, and the difference between this ESC and the one that's in the Ultralight is with this one, this has current sensing on it, and you can't really see it, but basically right there on the corner of the ESC on the bottom, there's that resistor right there, and that's actually a shunt resistor. So that means you get current sensing with this guy. When I first saw that, I'm like, huh, that actually seems I could use that. The problem is with this ESC versus the ESC that's in this guy is 32-bit will not fit into this frame. So the frame it's very tight. You basically have to have an ESC that will fit between 30 by 30 with the standoffs included, because if you try to stick that ESC in here, it will not fit. So that was my only gripe with it. Now, one remedy I will be doing is PyroFlip actually has something that they sell that they supply from HDLRC, and HDLRC they have a whole line of different flight controllers, motors, etc., etc. They make a XD60 current sensor, and what that does is you basically replace this with their little thing, and it solders onto the back of it, and then there's one little pad on the back that says current, and you'd run that wire. I'm guessing that would be your telemetry wire from your flight controller. You run a wire from the from the current resistor up to the flight controller, and then you enable current sensing in Betaflight. So that's the only way I can see you could get a true current reading off of it, besides doing something else. Because when I got the Ori 25, the non 32-bit one, there is a tab, or not a tab, there is a pin on the 8-pin plug that says CRNT, meaning current. Well, that's not really true. It's not a real true current sensor, it's just a spare plug. So that's the only other way I can see doing that, is you'd have to get the little HDLRC stack. And if you're wondering about a 32-bit capable 4-in-1 ESC that can run D-Shot 1200, because right now this is running D-Shot 600, because as far as I know, the Ori 25 BLHeli-S one that I've gotten here cannot do D-Shot 1200. So that's the only suggestion I've got, which is the SpeedX, I think it's the SpeedX GS25. That is a 32-bit 4-in-1 ESC that can do D-Shot 1200. The thing is, it will fit in between these standoffs, no problem. It will fit in there. I have checked it. I just didn't have time to do it because I was at a race this weekend, hence the snapped arms and the snapped camera plate. I know the camera plate, actually briefly going back to that, the camera plate, these ones are thicker on the version 2 of the Ultralight 3, so hopefully that's going to be a little bit more beefed up. Other than that, that's kind of my little review of the Druckbär Ultralight 3. Other things that are different with this build is, yeah, I ran the VTX antenna onto the arm. Only risk with that is it is kind of tugging on the UFL connector just a little bit, and I actually did have it come off of me at the race this weekend. I had to super glue the thing back on there to keep it in place, and I haven't had an issue since. I will probably be using... I'm probably going to start getting the Lumineer Axi antenna, the UFL one, and I wish what would happen is if TBS would actually make a Unify that had an MMCX connector on there, just because you can pop them on and off and they're not going to wear out very easily. The other reason I'm going to be switching to the Lumineer Axi is, and it sucks because, yeah, they're 20, these ones are only 12 bucks a piece, the Axis are 20 bucks a piece, so you can kind of see where I was going with that. But the other problem is these just... they get beat up, and I didn't have a single issue with this one, but on my Voss airframes, these things are always getting mangled apart, or they're getting dented, or not dented, but they're getting bent, and I usually have to carefully bend them back, and I just don't want to be dealing with that. I'll probably design something where it's a little 3D mount that gets zip tied up into the top part of the frame, and then your Axi antenna just kind of slides in onto the side. I do like the side mount orientation, then sticking it out the back. Just for me, I just like it that way. I don't really see a lot of people run the VTX antenna out the side. Usually they try to keep it somewhat protected, or they'll keep it between the back standoffs or something like that. But this is just kind of my little workaround of what I was doing. The other thing I do on my frames is I like flying with audio, and that was because of Mr. Steele, or Steele Davis. He usually runs a mic, and when I first built my first quad back in the summer, he was using microphones on his quads so he could hear what the thing was doing when it was really far out. And the first quad I got was an Impulse RC 6-inch butter quad. It's the 5-inch body with the 6-inch arm so they can run the 6-inch props on it. I was using the TBS core, I think it was the PMP 50, and that has a mic built into it. And then once Impulse had finally finalized and released the Mr. Steele PDB that had the microphone built into it. So I got really accustomed to flying with a mic, and I just like being able to hear my stuff. Plus, also another little tidbit is on your DVR, you do get the motor and prop noise. So that's the other thing. So what I have done is, well, you can't really see it. If you look it up, or oh, here we go. Actually, you can see it on this one. So on this frame, I've got it zip tied in right here. That's just a 35 volt 1000 microfarad cap. That's just kind of strapped onto the side. I think I'm going to start doing that too. It's just strapping them, because originally this and the mic were strapped onto the 2 main power leads so they kind of be able to move around. But these kept getting ripped off, and these kept getting ripped off too. So I'm just going to start zip tying them like this. Yeah, I run props in. I probably should run props out, but I just prefer props in. I don't really see the big advantage with it. I think it's just a hype thing. Anyways, so for my mic to get that to work, you need at least 3 to 5 volts on it, and all you need is 5 volt power supply, somewhere to hook ground back up, and then you need your video. In this case, you need an audio line. Since I'm using the TBS Unifies on these guys at the high volt, I can go to 800 milliwatts, because I do like to fly freestyle with these things too, just for the fun of it. You can power it off your Unify if you really wanted to, or if you find a 5 volt on your flight controller, that will work as well. But these, I got these from Adafruit. I think they're based out of New York, and this is their, I think it's the Max 9814. So this is a auto gain mic, and the cool thing with this is you can actually adjust the gain on it. So for the gain float, if you don't hook any of the jumpers up, you have 60 dB. If you hook gain float to ground, you get 50 dB, and then if you hook your ground to 40 to VDD, which means it's your voltage in to power the thing, is 40 dB. So what they mean by that is your gain float, if I can try to pull this back, yeah, get back, is you have ground, voltage, gain, out, and then AR. I forget what AR is, but basically if you want to adjust the gain on it, you either hook your gain up to ground voltage or your out, and that's going to adjust what the thing's going to do. So I have it just set for 40 dB, and then again, that I haven't had a problem with these mics. I think it was like a Flytron or something like that before, and that thing is just, it's way too pitchy in my opinion. And now Adafruit does make a smaller mic. I have not gotten one yet, but instead of getting this big old thing on there, this is what they normally look like when you get them, is it comes with this microphone on the thing. So if you want, they do make a tinier one. They do have a picture of it next to a quarter, and I know for sure that their other mic is a lot smaller than this one. So if you're trying to build a quad that's a very tight frame, kind of like these two are, you can probably swap this out and put their smaller mic in there. Now I don't know if it's a I forget what the type of microphone it is. I think it's an electric. I don't remember what it's called. Something like that. Anyway, but it does support the whole gain and everything. But yeah, so that's what I usually run on my quads. But this is really more just a review about the Ultralight 3 frame, and that's kind of what my whole spiel is about it. The only other thing, I mean, it is a dead cat style frame, as you can see. It's kind of an X on the back, and then it kind of goes to a squashed X, is what I kind of call them. We're back. My camera died. Anyway, I just have to swap batteries out. So, but yeah, in the end, I do like this frame a lot. I do highly suggest, if you're going to get it, I would probably suggest just get the race version, because hopefully those arms are going to be a little bit more beefier for what I'm doing. I mean, because I ran into a freaking concrete wall at the race and it snapped one arm off, and then this was actually probably not the wisest place to fly around it, but I was at a parking garage the other night, and this thing does move pretty good. I do like it a lot. The handling's great. The weight of it, I'm still getting used to Betaflight, because I just switched all the race rigs over to Betaflight. I normally run KISS, but that's more the freestyle rigs, and I think I will probably keep the freestyle rigs on the KISS stuff. I have been playing around with the V2 flight controller and the 32 amp ESCs on the 6-inch, and it's actually working pretty good. But yeah, all the race rigs are going to be on Betaflight. But overall, simple little frame. Originally I was just looking for something that was different compared to everybody else, because it seemed like a lot of the guys up in Portland, they're running the Catalyst Machine Works Norris, or they're running the Catalyst Machine Works America frame, either 4-inch or 5-inch, depending on what your taste is. There's actually another frame that's up in the Portland, Vancouver area that's local. Clinton, or El Diablo from Diablo Hobbies, he's got his new frame. It's called the Lucifer Frame, and it comes in 4-inch or 5-inch. Those ones, it's pretty tough. I got one of his 5-inch frames to try out on 6S, and I'm experimenting with that. But anyway, yeah, I do like this frame a lot, and I would just suggest that you go with the race version, just for the durability of it. I mean, yeah, you could do the lightness part of it. I would say if you're doing like a long distance build, you could probably go with this frame with the thinner arms, but for the durability aspect of it, I would suggest just go with the race version instead, because you do have that little quick change thing where you pull one bolt out, you loosen the other one up, you slide the whole thing out, and you lift it straight down, and that's what I would suggest. But yeah, so that's my review on this little guy. So yeah, I know Christian was saying that if you do a review, you do get he'll send you a free arm of your choice. So yeah, if you want to give me a free arm now, cool. Alright, so yeah, this is Bike Guy. Talk to you guys later.